where he was earlier in his career before the end of the year. I think eventually he will be, because he's too young for that to not be the case. And then Aaron Rodgers, who it's taken forever to finally kind of get back to playing at a high level. He was not playing well earlier this year. Yep. This has not been good money spent.
No, but when you look at those quarterbacks, you're talking about having 9 figures guaranteed at signing, Carl. And Deshaun Watson's contract, as we know, was fully guaranteed for $230 million. But Russell Wilson, $124 million guaranteed. Kyler Murray, $103 million guaranteed. Aaron Rodgers, $101 million guaranteed. That's a huge commitment. And so there is a level of pause or a little level of caution that teams should proceed with when they're going to dole out these extensions. Now, when it comes to some of the guys that are going to be up for these contract extensions, I don't think I would have any reservations if I was the one making a decision on pulling the trigger on one of these deals. With Jalen Hurts, do you have any questions about whether or not he's the future at quarterback in Philly?
Absolutely not.
So you pay him sooner rather than later, so the market doesn't become more inflated than it already is. With Joe Burrow, the same thing. With Justin Herbert, same deal. I'm paying those guys, Carlin, because what are the odds that I'm going to find another one of those guys in the next 3 to 5 years?
All you have
Hello
to
again,
do
everyone.
is
Let's check weather for East Central Illinois, Champaign-Urbana and vicinity. Here comes that dynamic wind-driven storm system to take aim at our neck of the woods with primarily a rain event with strong and severe weather lurking south and southeast. I-70 on southward. Better threat down towards Johnny's Place and northeast from there. And a blizzard, which is underway across the northern and central high plains areas. Expected to make its way north and northeastward into sections of the upper Midwest. We'll get into some of that cold and wind and snow as well towards the upcoming weekend. Some rain breaking out this afternoon, a wind-blown high of 44. Periods of rain windy tonight down to 41. Tomorrow it'll be variably cloudy, windy, and milder with some rain in the morning, a shower in the afternoon. Late will high to 52. Partly sunny and cooler for the day on Thursday. A couple of showers of rain and snow in the morning. Rain in the afternoon up to 41. Snow showers and flurries Friday and over Sunday and Monday as well, and turning colder. Highs for early next week, just low to mid-20s. For Stevie J Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Solgay.
It's showtime.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Pipes is writing down a lot of stuff. I'm just going to go from the gut. And joining us now, Coach Bielma.
Josh Whitman joining us now.
You get to say all the cool name drops.
Do it.
Brad Underwood, our guest.
College hoops.
How do you lose to Jackson State?
Call up every single person in the media that didn't put Kofi first team All-American. And I don't know, just play like clown noises.
I want to bet the Bears.
Oh.
Michael Porter Jr. has been good, but he thinks the earth is flat, so I can't pick him.
Oh, boy.
Throw it up to Kofi, and he's just going to tear the rim off.
How is he so good? All right, Hans, I'm going to mute you for a while.
Okay.
Oh, there's a timeout on the court!
So what we want to do is build a same-game parlay that will win all of us some money.
Maybe Rondale Moore could be Cooper Kupp, but he's not. Is it Instagram?
Yeah.
Is that what IG means?
I think you have to win the Big Ten title to win Big Ten Player of the Year.
Woohoo!
Wow, what a bad take.
Good morning, everybody. It is The Drive, ESPN Radio 93.5. The Drive with Tay and Piper. I am Lon Tay. Derek Piper is here. So is the intern Kyle Tosk, who took a step up in status today here at Stevie J Broadcasting. We will explain all that as we roll along. He will be here, of course, all day today, and we always appreciate that, even Derek Piper when he comes in a Cubs hat, because today he really can do nothing wrong.
I was asking him at the end of last week where it was, and he made sure to rep the Cubs.
Here he is. What did you think of Wilson Contreras heading to the Cardinals?
First of all, I am wearing the Cubs hat specifically for Derek, who told me that I needed to
balance it out.
Yeah,
Cardinals
rep
hat wearing from last week. But yeah, Wilson Contreras, I don't really want to talk about that.
Okay, that's fair. Now, we've got to get to our main story. But I've got one more thing. Your parents, I don't know if it was your dad in particular. I think he maybe mailed it. But you and your dad and mom went ahead and mailed all of us here at Stevie J Broadcasting Lou Malnati's Pizza from Chicago. How awesome is that? And you said he's a big Lou Malnati's guy. My brother loves.
Swears by that.
Lou Malnati's. So, and I know Pipes, I'm sure you've had it. I think everybody around here that's been to Chicago has had Lou Malnati's pizza. So, Kyle, thank you. Tell your parents, please. Thank you from all of us. And if they're listening, thank you very much to the Tosk family. That is a wonderful thing to do for Christmas. We appreciate it. That does not, though, have any bearing on the decision whether Kyle will be back next semester. Derek and I will still be meeting on that to determine that over the Christmas break. So, with that said, Derek Piper, the news came down. We have so many different things that are happening. I'd rather get this out first, and I know everybody has heard it, but a lot of condolences from a lot of Illinois fans, and certainly Brett Bielema, Josh Whitman, and a lot of people, and of course everybody around the college football world. The sad news that Mike Leach did pass away last night for Mississippi State. So Illinois, of course, will play Mississippi State. The Bulldogs all voted to, yes, go ahead and play the game in dedication of Mike Leach. But sad news certainly for him, and wow, it came on sudden.
Yeah, and it's incredibly sad. It was unexpected in how fast from the time where you hear the report of him having the health condition and the incident where he was hospitalized and find out it was a serious heart attack, which ultimately he didn't get through. And as we talked about yesterday, one of the most likable personalities, not only in college football, but in all of sports. And 61 years old is too young.
Wow.
That sucks. And obviously, yeah, I mean, it's tough for that program and what the players are going through, that coaching staff, and just thoughts to Mike Leach and his family and all those players in that program. And it's a tough one. But, yeah, he was – in looking back on it, you just hear different – and you see on Twitter a lot of people that interacted with him, the different stories.
The wedding advice and –
the wedding advice, the first date advice,
right.
Take her to a steak place that doesn't serve salad. That way she'll really have to eat in front of you, and you kind of skip the parts of where you're not really being your true self.
What do you say if she eats the entire steak, then you marry her?
Right. Marry her immediately. And like you mentioned, too, yesterday, like the ranking of the candy and just kind of just the funny, silly, just off-the-wall stuff that there's a lot of times where maybe we take this sports thing a little too seriously. And he reminded us all to loosen up and to give us some good laughs and obviously some really good football along the way with the air raid offense and what he did at Texas Tech, Washington State, and obviously successful year at Mississippi State as well.
I heard a nice tribute today from Lane Kiffin, of course, the coach at Ole Miss. They play each other every year in the Egg Bowl, and Lane Kiffin said, he was certainly somebody that was always you couldn't wait to see him during game week. And he said that's not always the case with other coaches, but you certainly enjoyed seeing Mike Leach on the other sideline and the day of the game. And he said it didn't matter how long you had coached, how old you were, where you coached. Mike Leach certainly was a very respectable and nice man to you. So that is obviously a nice tribute there from Lane Kiffin. And we will have Adam Rittenberg on from ESPN, national writer. We'll ask Adam if he ever had any chances to communicate with Coach Leach. I'm guessing he has. So we'll ask Adam about his thoughts. But Rit, I was about to call him Rit. Adam Rittenberg will be on at 4:20, so he's coming up in a minute. Now, the big story today, and again, our thoughts are with the Leach family and Mississippi State in general. The big story around here today is Ryan Walters taking a head football coaching job. Not at Colorado. When we heard the news about Deion, we thought, okay, maybe we have escaped something. But then Jeff Brom heads off to Louisville, and I hadn't even thought about Ryan Walters heading over and taking the Purdue job. Derek, let me say this. It's not that I don't think this Illinois defense can be good next season, because I trust Brett Bielema and this staff to bring in guys and coach these guys up that are next. But when you factor in what you potentially are losing off this Illinois football team, especially the defense next season, I don't care who you are, Ryan Walters, anyone, it's going to be hard to keep that defense at the level, especially this season. But even at a really solid level, I'm not saying that Illinois won't get back to that. I'm not saying that they couldn't be good on defense next year. But you are replacing Devin Witherspoon, Quan Martin, and Sidney Brown in the backfield, and Kendall Smith. Your entire secondary, right, is gone, and you're replacing all of them, unless I'm wrong here, and you can correct me. D'Arcangelo is gone as your linebacker. He was third team All Big Ten. Probably Johnny Newton gone, who's off to the NFL draft. Maybe Keith Randolph gone, who could be off to the NFL draft. I may be missing someone. The point is, you are losing quite a bit of talent. And here's my thought to that. I feel like this was the perfect time for Ryan Walters to strike while it's hot, right? He just showed what he can do with this Illinois defense, and now a chance to become a head coach somewhere, even if it is at Purdue. I just don't think he could pass something like that up.
Definitely not. Power 5 job in the Big Ten, a league that's going to be in the right spot as this realignment all shakes out.
Good call.
That's one of the knocks about Colorado is they're in the Pac-12, which is potentially disassembling, and that at least the big boys in USC and UCLA are leaving, and the Big Ten's going to be here to stay. They got staying power, and to go from no head coaching experience to a Power 5 job says a lot about him. And look,
it does.
He was the captain of a number 1 scoring defense in the country, took them from being one of the worst defenses in all of Power 5. You could even say all of Division I under Lovie Smith, who's supposed to be some defensive guru and whatnot. I know there's player development mixed in there.
Sure.
It's not like he's the only guy that deserves credit for that, but under his tutelage, guys are now in the conversation for the NFL draft. And then with his play calling, with his scheme, it all worked beautifully to Illinois having one of the best defenses in the country. So the foreshadowing of the boiler up, I'm not going to take – I'll take a little bit of blame.
I've already been –
maybe it was us.
I've already been hammered quite a bit today about we've got to stop that and we got to get it out of the
train,
intro.
like just 50 yards from where we currently sit every day, and it got louder and louder and louder by the month, I swear.
It totally did, leading up to them beating us, and now this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought that it was just like, okay, they come into Champaign and win, which we're like, all right, yep. We heard that from not even a mile away, maybe, like I said, 50 yards, and now them coming into Champaign and being able to get Ryan Walters. The bottom line for Ryan is it's awesome for him.
It really is.
And we'll see. It's going to be a fascinating situation where you go from no head coaching experience to then jumping right in and being in that position in the Big Ten, in the same division of the team you just left.
Right.
That's very intriguing. But for Illinois' standpoint, that's why I tweeted after the Wisconsin game. Some people didn't want to hear it because they wanted to say, why are you trying to ruin the moment and put too much pressure on it?
I remember
when you beat Wisconsin, it's like, you better make this your year.
Yep.
Because who knows how much is coming back. Walters included. You mentioned the names on defense. Chase Brown ain't coming back.
Nope.
Tommy DeVito might not be back, depending on the waiver. Like, this was the opportunity to have a really, really good year, like a special year, which they didn't achieve special, but they had a great year overall. So, and now, as Charles says on the U of I Line League text line, we'll get into we can talk about our guy again on this show.
Right.
Jimmy Leonard, but also Kevin Kane, someone that was on the staff, would be a seamless transition. But we can have the discussion of what's next for Illinois. I'm curious what our guy Adam Rittenberg has to say about it, too.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, ESPN national writer Adam Rittenberg joins the show. We'll do it next. It is The Drive.
Loud and clearly better. Good vibes. Good vibes.
Hi, this is Steve from Good Vibes.
And this is Luke Goody from your men's basketball team.
So, Luke, how's the rehab coming along?
Pretty good. The doctor says I might be cleared earlier than we thought.
Hey, that's great news. I know it's got to be tough for a player like you to ride the pine or the couch.
Yeah. Let's say I wanted a bigger, better TV while I'm recovering. What can I do on a college student's budget?
Luke, we go straight to Sony at every level, especially now with holiday pricing. You can get a 65-inch Bravia screen and stay in 3 figures. Sony's all about image quality, so their mid-grade models look better than the other guys' step-up sets.
I'm still pretty gimpy. Can Good Vibes deliver a 65-inch Sony and set it up in my place for under $1,000?
Absolutely, even after sales tax is added, and that's for the mid-level, not even the cheapest one. And for what it's worth, Good Vibes is a Sony warranty station, so in case anything goes wrong, we come to your place and take care of it. You won't get that from Amazon or Best Buy.
Maybe I can trade them for some basketball tickets? Kidding. Just kidding.
Hi, Ellen Hook here, owner of your local Ashley. Black Friday mattress savings are extended at Ashley. It's your last chance to save up to $500 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable mattress sets, or up to $800 on select Purple adjustable mattress sets. Plus, special financing for up to 60 months. These Black Friday mattress deals are only available through Monday, December 5th. So hurry in to your local Ashley store for better sleep and savings. Only from America's #1 furniture and mattress store, Ashley.
Need a little good news in your life? State Farm has new lower car insurance rates in Illinois, so you can now get the service and convenience of State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow at an even better price. That's right, State Farm can help you save more cash and get the good neighbor service you deserve. It's the real deal for car insurance. State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow is ready to help you save in Champaign-Urbana. Call Kurt today at 352-1411. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
If you're in the market for a new car battery, you could go to one of those big box stores, except there's no guarantee you'll be served by an actual car expert.
Clean up in aisle 3.
You could pick a battery off the shelf, except it might be close to expiring. Or you could just come into Interstate. Don't make a big box store blunder. With competitive prices and a more personal, reliable approach, Interstate Batteries is the clear-cut choice if you want to guarantee yourself a new and trustworthy car battery. They're open and ready to serve you at 2504 North Mattis Avenue in Champaign.
At Lifeline Connect, a residential recovery center for men in Urbana, we believe there's no such thing as a lost cause. As you donate to Funding the Dream, you'll be giving to a safe place where men can experience recovery while discovering God's purpose for their lives. Lifeline Connect is a Christian, faith-based solution to life-controlling drug and alcohol addictions. Help with the mission to rebuild lives and as you visit lifelineconnect.org. At Lifeline Connect, a residential recovery center for men in Urbana, we believe there is no such thing as a lost cause. As you donate at Lifeline Connect, a residential recovery center for men, at Lifeline Connect, a residential recovery center for men in Urbana, we believe there is no such thing as a lost cause. As you donate to Funding the Dream, you'll be giving to a safe place where men can experience recovery while pursuing God's purpose for their lives. Lifeline Connect is a Christian, faith-based solution to life-controlling drug and alcohol addictions. Help with the mission to rebuild lives as you visit lifelineconnect.org. Thank you.
Hey, Line fans, it's Georgia B and Stevie J Broadcasting, and you are listening to the amazing ESPN Radio 93.5.
All right, it is The Drive, ESPN Radio 93.5, The Drive with Tay and Piper. Tom Dienhart, who covers the Purdue Boilermakers, he's a friend of the show. He was on with the Big Ten Network today. You'll hear from that as we roll along and get thoughts of Tom on Purdue making the hire with Ryan Walters. I saw on Twitter today that some of the, I guess it would be the 24/7 board, Derek Piper, in Purdue, at Purdue, not really that excited about the hire for Ryan Walters. And sometimes, isn't it funny how you look at things, whereas right now as an Illini fan, and by the way, we're efforting Adam Rittenberg. He had mentioned he could probably join us at 4:20, but he's working on some stuff. Obviously today, a busy day, not only with this news with Ryan Walters, but Mike Leach. He's got plenty of other things. So hopefully we'll hear from Adam if he gets a chance to call into the show here soon. If he does, we'll go right to him and get his thoughts. But it is funny, the perspective of when you look at it from an Illinois fan, we're sitting here, Pipes, like, oh, no. I mean, listen, I think all of us are happy for Ryan Walters, and I think all of us, if you weren't braced for this, then that's your problem, because I think, the writing has been on the wall about Ryan Walters taking a head coaching job. But then you look at Purdue, and if that is the case where they're not that excited about getting him, isn't it funny where Illinois fans are like, we don't want to lose him, and Purdue fans are like, we're not sure we want him.
It's interesting. It does take different perspectives, but on the note of, like, I know there was a text on the text line yesterday about there was rumors of Ryan Walters being a finalist at Purdue, but I'll be honest, I didn't put a ton of thought into it.
I didn't
honestly.
either.
Like we've been thinking about the Colorado job, which obviously was filled by Deion Sanders. I think if people, as far as the Illinois fan goes, you'd be upset if he left for another coordinator job. Like if he left and was like, I'm going to be the DC at Alabama. Now, would you ultimately understand? Yeah, probably, because that's kind of the kingmaker there. You go and be a coordinator for a year or two or whatever it takes under Saban, and then you get a lot of opportunities to get head coaching jobs, a lot like Kirby Smart.
Yep.
Like that's a great example there. But
perfect.
Maybe Purdue fans are sitting there saying, we put 30 or 35 on that Ryan Walters defense, and he's never been a head coach.
That's a good point.
But at the same time, I know that those that cover this program, like I saw Jeremy's tweeting about it, and just the perception of Walters as far as like his leadership, kind of how he can command a locker room, like the way that he develops relationships. He should be a really good recruiter. I think it is an interesting also dynamic of a school we think of that always is like the spread offense. A lot of offense, they got to outscore you, and now you bring in this defensive mastermind or this guy that did magical work with an Illinois defense.
Completely flip.
Yeah.
That is, I'd never thought of that.
So if they can kind of keep the high-scoring profile offensively, which you can, of course, go out and hire a really good offensive coordinator and then let Ryan Walters do what he did at Illinois, I get it as far as the angst of we went from Jeff Brom to a guy that's a risk.
There's no doubt
that he hasn't been a head coach before.
He's not a proven commodity. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So you and I are both wearing Wisconsin red today. I know I always
do that.
I always just bring that up, but I am too because I always am.
It's going to be a good transition.
Right. And so our guy back before Brett Bielema was hired, Derek Piper and I had thrown our guy on the table of the next head coach of the University of Illinois, and that was Jim Leonhard. But obviously we are fine and very content and very happy with Brett Bielema taking the job and Josh Whitman finding him from the New England Patriots and putting him in the spot of head coach at Illinois. There is a history between Brett Bielema and Jim Leonhard. Jim Leonhard made $1.5 million. Ryan Walters made $1 million here. Now, that doesn't mean that Josh Whitman won't pay Jim Leonhard $1.5 or whatever it would take to become the defensive coordinator here. I know there's an in-house candidate that looks to be very probably a solid fit for Illinois, and we'll get to that. But Jim Leonhard is there. There is the connection with Brett Bielema. I don't think it's crazy, Pipes, to suggest that Jim Leonhard could come down and be your next defensive coordinator. In fact, I'll even say this. It's been kind of weird to me that Jim Leonhard has not accepted a job somewhere, that nothing has happened with him since he declined the job essentially to stay at Wisconsin. And in a weird way, now this is just me speculating, in a weird way, there's a lot of inner dealings that Brett Bielema knows with Ryan Walters. I mean, let's be honest. Ryan Walters is going to talk to Brett every day. He's keeping the line open. I mean, Brett even said there's an open door policy with Josh Whitman, then Ryan can go in and talk to him about other jobs as well. I don't think it's a secret probably that Brett Bielema knew Ryan Walters would be going. Now, I don't know that he knew he'd be going to Purdue, but he probably understood that he would be losing a defensive coordinator. It's just interesting to me that Jim Leonhard is still available right now at this point in time. And I just wonder in my head, did they know Walters was going to get this job before we knew it? And because of that, has there already been chatter between Brett and Jim Leonhard to set this up?
It's interesting because there was some real buzz before the season was over that Brom was going to go to Louisville.
Yes.
Like that was definitely going to happen. So then Purdue, you would imagine, as Josh Whitman's done before, when we knew that John Gross was on the hot seat or we knew Lovie Smith was on uncertain ground, like doing your homework, going out and back channeling and making some contacts. And the fact that Purdue couldn't have already known in their head that they really liked Ryan Walters and were going to be very serious about him. So then on the Illinois side of it, they knew Colorado was going to be a big player. And then also someone else could emerge as far as a head coaching opportunity. And then again, like the opportunity of a Bama, of someone of that caliber, like the elite level, to then try to pull him away as a DC. Now, I think that Illinois would be able to do all they could financially to make sure he didn't make what, in terms of a job title, is a lateral move. But
Sure.
of course, we're not going to sit here and argue that Illinois DC versus Alabama is the same. But on that note, what's very interesting is that the original report, which just could have been flat out wrong, was that Jim Leonhard was going to stay at Wisconsin.
Right.
Even though Luke Fickell was hired. And then it changed. It flipped. And then all of a sudden he's leaving. So I don't know what development. I think it makes you wonder, like, what changed for Jim Leonhard? Was the report just originally wrong? And then you wonder what he's ultimately looking for, because if it's not going to work to where he wasn't just I figured he was the head coach in waiting. That was part of why
I did too.
He hadn't left there by now, and maybe they didn't see what they wanted to ultimately. And does Jim Leonhard see Illinois like staying in the Big Ten as a DC as too much of what's he's already been doing? Maybe he wants to break away. Maybe he wants to go to the NFL.
Fair.
Maybe he wants to take a head coaching job at a non-Power 5. So that part is interesting. But in terms of the fit and the reasons why it makes sense for Illinois, they should absolutely do whatever they can to make it happen.
I believe on the Dick Van Dyke Appliance World phone line now, Adam Rittenberg joins us, ESPN. How are you, Adam?
Hey, Lon, how you doing?
Good, buddy.
I'm a little late.
No, we get it, and you're busy. This is a busy day, so we're going to just get right to it. We have been talking about, obviously, a couple of possible replacements, including Jim Leonhard. We'll get your thoughts on that. Adam Rittenberg, national writer, ESPN. Always appreciate your time, and we won't keep you long, Adam. I know you've got things going. But your initial thought to Ryan Walters taking the Purdue job, I don't know how, but it still surprised me a little bit. Not that he is taking another head coaching job, but that it was that job.
Yeah, no, it surprised me too. I'd heard that he was one of two finalists for the job yesterday, so I knew he had a pretty good shot at the one. But you look at Purdue, and their history has been so offense driven. I went back and looked, and they haven't hired a coach with a primarily defensive background since Leon Burtnett in the 80s. It's been that long. Again, Purdue, unlike a lot of the programs especially on this side of the conference, is very much rooted in offense and quarterback play, and that was certainly reflected with the Jeff Brom hire. And so you got the sense, especially after the success they had with Brom, that they'd want to continue down that path. And then certainly listening to Mike Bobinski, their AD, at the press conference last week, and also talking to some people involved with the search, I really thought that they would hire somebody who was a sitting head coach or who had head coaching experience. Now, that's not to say Ryan won't be a great coach, because I think he will. I met with him in the preseason, and I immediately got the vibe that he was a future head coach and would be a really good head coach. And so, yeah, I'm with you, Lon. I mean, him becoming a head coach, not a surprise. I think if it wasn't Deion Sanders at Colorado, it would have been Ryan Walters at Colorado. But for this particular job, given their seeming desire to hire someone with head coaching experience, plus their history of hiring offensive coaches, that part of it was surprising that they landed with Ryan.
Adam, where do you think Illinois goes from here? Kevin Kane is one on staff that is an in-house option. Of course, we're sitting here. We were talking about Jimmy Leonhard back when the head coaching position was available. What do you think about Leonhard? Where that's kind of been an interesting dynamic of it was originally reported he was going to stay at Wisconsin. Now he's not. Do you think that's an option? And what do you think how do you think Brett Bielema will approach this now that he's lost one of the top defensive coordinators in the country?
Well, the good thing about Brett is that he knows a lot of people, he knows a lot of coaches, and he always has a larger view of things, which I appreciate about him. He's not someone who is, his tunnel vision, only sees things of, I can only promote from within the staff, or I can only hire somebody who's been in the Big Ten. I think he's going to survey all of his options. Now, there's a lot of people who want Jim Leonhard. I think, honestly, with all due respect to Illinois or any of the other programs, like, him leaving Wisconsin for another Big Ten defensive coordinator job seems odd to me. It could happen, sure. And, it would be one heck of a troll for him to join the former Wisconsin coach and face the Badgers next year. But, this is the guy who was offered the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator job and turned it down to stay at Wisconsin. He could get that job this year, or another NFL coordinator job, or completely different part of college football. I guess I just would be surprised if he wants to move his family from Madison to Champaign to just be another defensive coordinator in the Big Ten. But like you mentioned, there's some options on the staff. And Kevin Kane, when Kevin took this job, I thought it was very much in the idea that Ryan Walters was going to move on relatively soon, and then he could move up into the coordinator role. He was a defensive coordinator under Sonny Dykes at SMU. And it had some success there. Obviously has some connections to the Midwest, from Kansas, was at Wisconsin, and, has done a nice job, obviously, with Illinois. So he would be the one that I would look at internally, but there's obviously other external candidates who I'm sure Brett will also consider for the job.
Adam, Lon was diagramming earlier, Devin Witherspoon projected by some as a first-round pick. Sidney Brown's probably going to be gone. Quan Martin, Johnny Newton up front. Do you think that as far as the losses on the Illinois defense, could that impact who Illinois could bring in, or is the transfer portal change some of that because, okay, we can just go out and fill some of these spots and be an attractive destination based on how those guys thrived?
Yeah, I think, given what Illinois did, really with a defense that wasn't known. I mean, the players, we really didn't know much about these guys, even last year with the success they had. And this year there's been so many great individual stories with the Illini, thanks in large part to Ryan's work, but also just the individual development of those players and the overall work of the staff. I think Illinois is now seen as a place that, whoever's there, given the culture that Brett's created in pretty short order, that you can go in and have some success. So certainly the portal is part of it. But the fact that they've been a good defense, I think really helps, attract good candidates and also gives them a chance to reload. Now they lose, like you mentioned, a lot of really good players from this year's crew as well as their play caller, and that's hard to overcome. But you certainly feel better about doing so in this climate versus a couple of years ago when there was so much more in flux around the program. You know who your head coach is.
Sure.
You know his style of play, how he wants to recruit, and I think you can apply that to next season and avoid a significant drop-off on defense.
ESPN national college football writer Adam Rittenberg joining us. Adam, I've got two quick ones, and then we're going to get you out of here. I'll end with Mike Leach because I think he deserves the end. Illinois playing in the ReliaQuest Bowl, obviously the Mississippi State with Mike Leach we can get to, but how big of a thing is that for this program when they've really been fighting for, just a bowl game in general, for Illinois to get a January 2nd bowl against an SEC team? How big is that on a perception level across the country, I guess?
Yeah, it's definitely significant. The game, unfortunately, will get more attention now because of Mike Leach and his team, still being willing to play the game, which is certainly what he would have wanted. And in a stadium with a pirate ship, there's a lot of crazy coincidences, ironies, however you want to describe it there. But there's going to be more eyeballs on this game. It's the first game on what essentially is New Year's Day, even though New Year's Day will be an NFL day this year, and January 2nd will be a college football day with the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl and everything. But or not the Sugar Bowl, but the Rose Bowl and certainly the ReliaQuest Bowl. So it is a great opportunity. Again, year two under Brett, for them to be in this position is really encouraging. I don't have to spell it out for you guys. You guys experienced it. They missed an opportunity. I mean, they had a great chance to be in the Big Ten championship game, and those don't come around too often in Illinois. So that's going to sting. But still going 8-4 with a chance to go 9-4 and finish in the top 25, which I'm sure they'll be if they can beat Mississippi State. It's great progress in year two for Brett. I mean, Illinois has not been in a bowl like this for a long time, and a win would certainly help, punctuate what's been a really nice season for them.
Without a doubt. All right, I'll end with Mike Leach. I mean, we've all heard how wonderful of a man he was. I'm interested, Adam Rittenberg, did you have many dialogues with Coach Leach and just the thought from your perspective on a national level of what he brought to college football?
Yeah, no, I did have some over the years. I never spent a week with him like many of my colleagues in the media or at ESPN, and certainly regret that because he was an interesting guy. And he was just a naturally curious coach who, had a lot of interest outside of football. I remember him asking me where I was from, and I told him the Bay Area, and he was telling me how his father was born in Richmond, California, which is a little north of where I grew up, and we got talking about that, and he just written his book about Geronimo, so we talked about Geronimo, and there was a conversation actually my colleague Kyle Bonagura posted about today on Twitter at Pac-12 Media Days a few years ago, where we started talking about rent control apartments, and then he dovetails into a story about playing touch football with her. Yeah, I mean, he had a very active mind.
Yes,
and he's a guy that he's influenced so many coaches, but you kind of wish there were more that were like him, and I guess maybe that's a tough ask because a lot of these coaches, even those who work for him, are sort of your typical college football coaches where they love football and they love scheming and they don't really have these broader interests like Mike did. But I think if he can, if anything in his legacy can sort of be passed down, hopefully it's that you can do the job differently. You can be interested in other things. You don't have to be a football bot, and you can, you don't have to work yourself like crazy, like some of these coaches do. Because Mike was a guy. I mean, you hear stories. He'd roll in at 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and then he'd work till 1 or 2 in the morning, and then walk home. Like that was his schedule. So just a very different guy, a very unique thinker, and just had a great world view. And honestly, like one thing I like about Brett Bielema doesn't live in a bubble. I mean, he thinks about things outside of football, and I just wish more coaches were like that because, I just enjoy people that take that approach to life and can talk about things other than just their job.
That's a great point, Adam, and I think we were destined for a magical run with Brett Bielema and Mike Leach squaring off in press conferences for this bowl game that unfortunately we won't be able now to see, but certainly appreciate Mississippi State and the players saying in honor of Coach, we're going to play this game down in Tampa January 2nd, so can't wait for that. Adam Rittenberg, we always appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Yeah, same to you guys. Thanks for having me on again. Sorry for being a little late, but yeah, enjoy the holidays if I don't talk to you before, and certainly enjoy the game on January 2nd.
Okay, buddy. Thank you very much. That is Adam Rittenberg, ESPN National College Football writer. Always great to visit with Adam. I know he is a busy guy on days like today, and it has been a busy day in the college football world. The bad, of course, with Mike Leach. And of course, we had heard yesterday that he was in pretty critical condition, grave condition, and then he passed away last night. So I know Brett Bielema sent out a thought to Mike Leach today. Obviously, his prayers with him. Brett Bielema also released a statement, Derek Piper, today with regards to Ryan Walters. This was the statement. Congratulations to Coach Walters on taking the head coaching job at Purdue. Ryan is a talented coach with a bright future. We thank him and his family for everything they did for our program. This is something that I had seen coming for a while now. We have had a plan in place that we will unveil in the coming weeks that will position Illinois football for sustained success in 2023 and for years to come. So that is the statement that Brett Bielema released. Look, it's no secret that this is something, you always hear, Derek, called you Brett. You always hear about ADs that have a list. I guarantee you Josh Whitman right now has a list of football and basketball and on down the line of coaches in case he would need to replace a coach. And so that is nothing different with what a head coach then does with regards to his coordinators. And like Adam Rittenberg said, Brett Bielema, everybody knows everybody in that profession. Everybody knows everybody. But a guy like Brett Bielema, for sure, where he's been in terms of he's coached in the Big Ten, he's coached in the SEC, he's coached in the NFL. Chris Ash is another name, a Las Vegas Raiders defensive back coach that has a connection with Brett Bielema. There are plenty of guys out there, if he chooses not to stick within the organization with a guy like Kevin Kane, there's certainly plenty of guys out there that Brett Bielema knows, and I would trust Brett Bielema to go out and make the right decision.
Absolutely. And not only is he going to know a bunch of people, he's going to command the respect of them, and then just
good call.
If there's anybody that is uncertain about that position, Ryan Walters spent 2 years here and went from being never having been a head coach to then being hired in the Power Five.
That's impressive.
That's a great jumping off point. Again, the talent's going to be something that Illinois is really going to have to replace and replenish maybe via the portal. Obviously, you develop those that you recruited in a similar way as to some of these guys that were standout players on this roster. But there's no doubt that he's going to know a lot of people at both levels, given the NFL experience that I'm sure opened up even more doors.
No doubt.
In terms of who he's brushed shoulders with, connected with, and everything. And then, yeah, his success at Wisconsin obviously spoke for itself, and I'm going to be very intrigued to see how this process goes. And I get it. I get why Adam Rittenberg would say that it'd be a little head-scratching and peculiar if Jim Leonard's like, no, I don't want the D.C. job at Wisconsin. I want it at Illinois.
That's a good point. You brought that up.
So, but we can still dream a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
Man, if nothing else, you and I have really done our part to get Jim Leonard to Illinois.
I want Jim Leonard. I want Devin Leary.
Let's go.
Period.
You said there's on the text line we've got an inside
There
source.
was an inside report, apparently.
Okay.
You want me to share it?
Yeah, share that.
Tim on the U of I Line and Link text line said that he's been told Tommy's received his waiver, waiting to see what happens with Devin Leary, whether or not he signs with Illinois. Of course, if Devin Leary's coming to town, then Tommy DeVito probably is not staying.
Can I ask you this, because you're around recruiting and you're around this stuff so much more than I am. If that is the case, and we appreciate Tim throwing that out there, our buddy on the U of I Line and Link text line, he texts in quite a bit. We do appreciate that. My question to you is this. Let me throw this out there to you, and how do you think this is handled? Obviously, Tommy DeVito just put a smile on Derek Piper's face the entire year. I mean, he was completion percentage stud.
He did.
And certainly, I've asked Jay Lehman this question. You have as well. I'm like, Jay, I asked Jay this last week when you were in New York. I said, Jay, do we put it like, how did I say it? Do we give enough credibility to what Tommy DeVito delivered for this team this year? I mean, we haven't really had that guy for a while. I mean, there's been times when Brandon Peters showed out and you know, down the list, I'm not going to go down the list, but certainly DeVito was so consistent game in and game out, not just with hitting receivers, which is what Pipes love, but he was just consistent every week to where you went into a game, you could utilize the game plan. You knew what you were getting. You may not have known that with Brandon Peters. You would not have known that with Art Sitkowski. But with Tommy DeVito, Barry Lunny Jr. basically said, I know what DeVito's going to give me today. He may not give me 300 yards, but he's going to complete passes. He's going to move sticks. And now it opens up the entire playbook for me to use with tight ends, although we didn't use him enough, with Chase Brown, who we used a ton, and he was awesome. And these receivers, I just felt like the consistency that Tommy DeVito gave you every week was huge for this Illinois team. Now, with that said, if on the table Brett Bielema told Tommy DeVito, look, we're going to try for this extra year of eligibility. However, we're also trying to get Devin Leary in here. And I'm not going to lie to you, Tommy. If we get Devin Leary in here, who is an NFL quarterback, he's going to play. So could it, with what you know, not in this particular situation, could it be that Brett Bielema would literally tell Tommy DeVito, if we don't get Leary, then you're back in the fold. But if we get Leary, you're more than welcome to be in the fold, but you're probably not starting.
That's a tough line to toe. It's really
right?
difficult because then if you don't get Devin Leary, if you're going to have that honest of a conversation and be like, look, if Leary's coming, then you're out, and if he's not, then we want you to be our guy, then you could rub Tommy the wrong way.
I mean, he showed up in his bathrobe and slippers at Bielema's house. Maybe they've got that kind of a relationship.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't think, knowing what I know about recruiting, you got to Deshaun Watson massage that situation a little bit more than just be flat out, just like straight up.
Oh, I hit the wrong thing. Oh my gosh.
It's usually not that blunt.
Okay.
But one
I
thing,
assumed it wouldn't be.
This isn't a perfect comparison, but I think about Jacob Grandison at Illinois, who obviously was a very valuable role player, was an upgrade over what Illinois had at the 4 spot. How many years did we talk about the 4? Oh, it would be nice if they had someone that could play the 4, that could hit some shots, that could rebound. And Grandison came in and did a very fine job.
He did.
Then it got to the point of Grandison could apply for another year if he wanted to, and then you kind of sat there and said, does he really want to play whatever it is, a 6th year in college? Does he want to be 24 years old and play college basketball? I think probably the same conversation's going on with Tommy. Like, Tommy, a 7th year in college?
Yeah.
Do you really want that? So I don't know what Tommy's thinking. I do know on the basketball side, Illinois didn't, go balls to the wall and trying to, beg Jacob Grandison to come back, knowing that they had Ty Rodgers coming in, that they had the opportunities in the portal to get a Matthew Meyer. And when the dust settled and Grandison ultimately decided that he wanted to play in college again, Illinois was like, we got what we wanted and we're good. So I think that on the Illinois side with DeVito, it's a little more complicated. Again, it's not the most it's not the perfect comparison because you're literally there's one position. In basketball, it's like we could bring a couple guys in, we could fit you in here. You get this minutes. Either you're going to start at quarterback or you're not going to play.
Or you're not.
And the one thing with Leary is that he's coming off surgery.
Yeah.
Pectoral surgery. He's not going to be able to throw until February. But there's no doubt as far as his talent. You don't go in as the ACC preseason player of the year and on mock drafts in the second round if you're not legit. So
well said.
I would take that if you could get him. I would then make that move.
Okay,
but you'd have to be that being Leary.
Who's that? Yeah, Leary.
If I could, I would be recruiting him right now.
Right.
If I could seal the deal and land him, then I would do it. But as far as like the in between part of that process with the veto, that's tough.
It is tough. Interestingly enough, at the banquet, the football banquet happened a few nights ago. Brett Bielema was not specifically asked about Leary, but was asked about DeVito and possibly another year. Here's Brett. Basically, he didn't necessarily talk just about the quarterback, but he had an interesting take on some of this.
Whether it's quarterback, running back, O-line, D-line, anytime you have a positional player that's in the last year of his eligibility, right, you recruit to a certain level before the season ever appears. During the course of the year, things change, right? Kids that are remaining years of eligibility may get injured and have a medical. It's kind of unprecedented. And then this year with a portal situation, it's always a kind of a wait till we get to the end of the year and see what happens. At the quarterback position, specifically for us, right before the year was started, we lost Amari Collier, right, who was a second-year quarterback. So that, throws off the recruiting process a little bit. If I believe correctly, Art, who is now transitioning out, he was the last quarterback that the previous staff had recruited here, still here. So I think our philosophy, our mentality is a lot different from what was here before, especially at the quarterback position. So this will clean swipe it, and we'll see where we are in the fall.
There you go. So it'll be interesting. That is interesting, too, with the idea that if DeVito is gone and Sitkowski's gone, and this is all Brett Bielema's and company's quarterbacks going forward. This is not a Lovie Smith quarterback on this squad, but hey,
you would have to go get a transfer. I don't know that Donovan's ready to take the reins.
No. Interestingly enough, I told you with Ryan Walters, and this wasn't meant to be a rip on a guy like Ryan Walters, who was unbelievable, and I wish he were still here. But it is interesting that he came in and he kind of took that Lovie Smith talent that Lovie and that coaching staff didn't develop quite like they had. Now, they weren't seniors either, and maybe that would have happened, but I'm going to take my chances more with Brett Bielema and Ryan Walters and that staff. But it's interesting that he came in here and kind of rode that talent and to a new job, essentially.
He rode it perfectly.
He did. But he got him to the level. Ryan Walters.
He helped develop them, but also put them in a great situation
Yes.
in his scheme. The scheme was aggressive. It was putting pressure on the quarterback. It was playing one-on-one on the outside, and Lovie's was more conservative, sit in cover two, and let the tight end be wide open for 4 touchdowns.
Yep. Oh, it was so frustrating. It is amazing. Ryan Walters, first and foremost, is a secondary coach. That's what he played in college. That's what he did coming up. Then he took, of course, the D coordinator job at Missouri. Then he took the D coordinator job here at Illinois and led you to a number 1 scoring team in the country going into the bowl games. But when you, again, look at that secondary, look what he did with Kirby Joseph. Look what he has done or helped do with Devin Witherspoon, Quan Martin, Sidney Brown, and even Kendall Smith, who all 4 of those guys, I know 3 of them ranked in the top 24, I think, and because there's a lot of ties. Sidney Brown led the country in interceptions. There were 5 guys that had 6 interceptions along with Sidney. Then there's a bunch of them that had 5, bunch of them that had 4. The point is 3 of those guys were top 25 in the country in interceptions, and just what they did. We've talked over and over about Devin Witherspoon and how people didn't even throw at him.
Right, and these aren't the highest profile of recruits.
No
knock on them.
That's fair.
Some talented players, and Devin Witherspoon is a athletic dude. Same with Sidney Brown. But you're going to have guys that Purdue has to think it'd be a different situation if Ryan Walters came in, coached up a bunch of 5 stars, had a great defense, and then all right, I'm going to show up at Purdue, and we don't get those dudes. Purdue can recruit in that same talent pool that obviously Lovie Smith had some. There's something to be said for good evaluations, good player development, but that has got to be along their line of thinking.
Last one for me. Are you worried at all about him, Ryan Walters being him, stealing any of this coaching staff to take with him?
Good question.
Terrence Jamison, Andy Boo. I mean, a lot of these.
I'd say you'd wonder about it.
You would,
because if he can take someone who was a position coach here and turn them into his defensive coordinator, or you could do the same thing offensively.
Now, Aaron
you'd
Henry,
wonder about it.
Henry's got the connection, right, with Brett Bielema back to Wisconsin. Does Jamison, is that right?
Right, but Jamison also was an assistant at Purdue, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But I think he does have connection to Brett Bielema. I think that I'd feel good about Illinois. I don't know this to be true, but like the way that Josh Whitman is committed to paying the staff and the everything that he's given the head coach, both on the basketball side and the football side, to be very competitive and keeping the guys they want to keep.
Yeah.
You'd feel good about that in terms of if he just tried to say, all right, you're the DB coach here at Illinois, come be the DB coach at Purdue. But
I guarantee you, not because of this, I guarantee you there were raises all around coming for this coaching staff this year after an 8-4 season and a trip to ReliaQuest Bowl.
It wasn't just going to be Barry Lunney.
No. And it's not just because, because Ryan Walters is leaving, I better give everybody a raise. It was happening. I can promise you that. So, all right, I got to sneak out of here. I'm going to go watch basketball. You and Kyle are going to handle things. Tom Dienhart, who covers Purdue, he visited with the Big Ten Network. You're maybe going to play a little bit of that next hour as well, and you guys are going to chat some NFL. Hey, it's fantasy football.
I'm going to talk Kyle off the ledge. The 2-game losing streak for the Dolphins.
Well, good luck with that.
I got to reel him back in.
I can't wait to hear it. All right, we'll do all that next. It is The Drive.
At Busey Bank, we understand you have a vision for your future, and we're committed to helping you achieve your dreams. Since 1868, we've invested in recruiting and retaining the best and brightest associates. Busey's unique culture is one that values and supports you, provides opportunities for growth, and is much more than a job. It's a career. Build relationships, build community, and build your career at Busey Bank. Member FDIC. Equal opportunity employer.
If you're looking for a new car, go to Sarah Champaign, because at Sarah Subaru, they have over 100 new Subarus available right now, all with symmetrical all-wheel drive. The Subaru Share the Love event is on too. With every new Subaru purchased or leased through January 3rd, Subaru will donate $250 to your choice of charities. Sarah Subaru will also donate an additional $50 to the Champaign County Humane Society right here in our community. Visit Sarah Subaru right off Route 45 in Savoy.
Christmas markdowns are starting now at Prairie Gardens, with hundreds of items on sale throughout the store, including all Christmas ornaments, the entire stock, and extra 30% off. Santas and snowmen, cardinals and deer, so many ornaments from which to choose, all ready to hang to bring your home cheer. And now save an extra 30% off each and every one. At Prairie Gardens, your Christmas destination for over 50 years.
There's a fly ball down the left field line. This has a chance. It's curving, gone! Home run, Nolan Arenado. This is Cardinal broadcaster Mike Claiborne. Soon enough, the boys of summer will be back on the fields in Jupiter, Florida. Spring Training 2023. It'll be another season of home runs, the hits, and the unforgettable moments. And we'll be with you from start to finish, first pitch to the final out. Right here on the Cardinals Radio Network.
Kelsey Furniture in downtown Tuscola sells Tempur-Pedic beds. What's it like?
I'm going to tell you right now, Stevie, that thing is the best thing I've ever slept on in my life. My wife and I both have said we've never had better night's sleep. And the people at Kelsey's were fantastic. Brian is the guy that helped us. You know, as much as I did my research, he has a world of knowledge about beds themselves. Oh, man, it's like sleeping on a cloud, man.
Kelsey Furniture, downtown Tuscola.
If you want a steak, I mean a steak, prepared the way you want it, you've got to go to Long Branch Steakhouse. Hi, it's Jay Lehman. It's been over a year since I was introduced to Donnie at the Long Branch Steakhouse in Gifford. And when I want a great steak, that's where I go. And the sides, the Brussels sprouts, the mac and cheese, and the salad with Donnie's secret frog dressing. Long Branch Steakhouse in downtown Gifford. Open Wednesday through Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m. There's always room for the Long Branch Steakhouse.
You have money laying all around your house. You just don't know it. And no, I don't mean selling your great-grandma's good china. I mean all the old metal items you don't want to use or get rid of. Don't pay someone to haul it away. Bring it into Max Twin City Recycling and get paid to have it taken off your hands. They love new customers and are more than willing to walk you through their process step by step. Come check them out at 2808 North Lincoln Avenue in Urbana.
Starting it over is what we do at Max Twin City Recycling.
What kind of bedside manner would you like your doctor to have? At Roof Doctors, they make sure you feel good about what they can do for you. They make sure they answer all of your questions and feel comfortable about whatever procedure your roof needs. Roof Doctors has helped customers for over 30 years. Randy and Tammy have helped make lives better in our community with their generosity and kindness. Roof Doctors is a company you can trust if you need anything done on your roof. Roof Doctors in Urbana. They make you their #1 priority. Flowers equals smiles equals happiness. Think love with flowers. The Blossom Basket florist can put a smile on everyone's face with a beautiful spring floral creation. Let their flowers make you a hero. Flowers are always affordable for all occasions, from simple to simply magnificent. Visit them online at blossombasket.com or come into their store at 1002 North Cunningham Avenue in Urbana.
The Blossom Basket florist, the florist you pick.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
To be able to start Sunday in Denver. College football is lost an original. Mississippi State coach Mike Leach died last night from complications related to a heart condition at the age of 61. Leach revolutionized the sport with the air raid offense, but he should be known for much more, says Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin.
There aren't many people that you look forward to seeing every single time, especially on a game day, at conference meetings. And here's this guy just get along with everybody. Didn't matter where you're from, how long you've coached anything. He was so wonderful to everybody. Just a true joy to be around. Maybe the smartest person I have ever met.
Mississippi State will play in the ReliaQuest Bowl January 2nd against Illinois to honor Leach. World Cup semis, Argentina defeated Croatia 3-0. Lionel Messi converted a penalty and had a hand in 2 other goals. Argentina will play France or Morocco in the final on Sunday.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com.
If you having take problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but Chris ain't one. Hit me.
This is Canty and Carlin. I'm not in any of the fantasy football leagues that have a punishment for the team that finishes in last place. But for me this year, the loser of your fantasy league should have to watch every minute of NFC South football from this past year.
That's awful football.
I'll tell you what, that's worse than sitting in a Waffle House for 24 hours trying to eat waffles. At least I don't get Waffle House.
Now from the ESPN studios in New York City, this is Canty and Carlin on ESPN Radio. Plus, listen and watch on the ESPN app.
I'm going to say at the end of that, at least I know I'm going to get a waffle out of it.
Yeah.
At least one.
Yeah, you're going to get something positive out of your experience at the Waffle House. I don't know that you're going to get something positive out of watching NFC South football.
When was the last time you were at a Waffle House?
I'm going to say probably a decade ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, early 2010s, somewhere in there. The last time, listen, my Waffle House days coincide with my club night.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's like we go to the club, and then by the time we get out of the club, the only thing that's open is a Waffle House.
Right.
Yeah.
Completely understandable.
Have something to soak up all of the lubricant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely understandable.
Yeah.
I haven't been to one in 5 years. I wish they had them in the Northeast.
Yeah.
I went and I was, it was just everything I thought it could be.
Listen, I'm not a Waffle House gotta have it kind of guy. But Waffle House in the right circumstance will hit the right damn spot.
Any port in a storm sometimes.
Yeah.
Canty and Carlin.
Gotta have something.
Canty and Carlin, ESPN Radio, and on the ESPN app. How about a little NBA for a minute. What a job that Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers did last night. That was as impressive as it gets, basically dismantling the Celtics.
Yeah.
And Kawhi, who has been a little hit and miss, as we know so far this year, was hit in a big way. With what did he finish with? 25 and 9, something like that.
Yeah, but he had 20 points through the first 3 quarters of that game.
Yeah.
And Carlin, they dog walked the Boston Celtics, one of the best teams in the league. Now the Celtics, maybe they were a little bit shaken because of their matchup with the Golden State Warriors the night prior or 2 nights prior, and you could kind of see it in that second half of that game that they were a little bit in their heads with the Golden State Warriors because of what happened in the finals. Maybe that carried over into the Clippers game. But it was impressive to see PG-13 and Kawhi Leonard find a way to be able to play together. And defensively, when we start talking about shutting down these big-time wing scorers, I mean, and that's what you're going to have to do if you're going to get to, a conference finals in either conference. They have 2 guys that can do it defensively.
That was the game last night that had Stephen A. saying in the offseason that the Clippers were the biggest threat out west. That was the kind of game that he was talking about.
Yeah.
I just don't know if we're going to see that enough from the Clippers this year. I don't buy the idea that the Clippers are going to be a really consistent team this year.
Okay, so you're saying that game is...
Don't worry. We haven't gone anywhere, and no, you don't have to listen to NBA talk for the next hour. We'll be back after this.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for Eastern Illinois. Champaign and Grand Rapids Saturday, maybe a little bit of early morning sun, otherwise clouding over, breezy, and some rain will be breaking out in spots this afternoon. We'll climb to 44. That southeast to east wind on the increase of 12 to 24, and gusty this afternoon. Periods of rain, downpours as well. Areas of fog tonight, and a windy low of 41. Tomorrow, variably cloudy, milder up to 52. Some rain in spots for the morning and a couple of showers in the afternoon. Gusty southeasterly winds will shift around into the southwest. A few showers tomorrow night with a low down to 34. A partly sunny, cooler day on Thursday. Maybe a little mixed rain, snow shower activity in the morning, and a few sprinkles in the afternoon up to 41. Windy, colder on Friday. A couple of snow showers and flurries at 34. Breezy, cold for the day on Saturday. Clouds and highs just 29. By Sunday up to 31 with a couple of more snow showers and flurries. And here comes the southern cusp of a cold wave weather pattern that'll take us well through Christmas. Up to 28 on Monday, 23 on Tuesday. Both days, a couple of snow showers and flurries. For CVJ Broadcasting, I'm Peter Olchis, Greg Solgay.
It's showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Pipes is writing down a lot of stuff. I'm just going to go from the gut. And joining us now, Coach Bielma, Josh Whitman joining us now.
You get to say all the cool name drops.
Do it.
Brad Underwood, our guest.
College hoops.
How do you lose to Jackson State?
Call up every single person in the media that didn't put Kofi first team All-American. And I don't know, just play like clown noises.
I want to bet the Bears.
Oh. Michael Porter Jr. has been good, but he thinks the earth is flat, so I can't pick him.
Oh, boy.
Throw it up to Kofi, and he's just going to tear the rim off.
How is he so good? All right, Hans, I'm going to mute you for a while.
Okay.
Oh, there's a timeout on the court!
So what we want to do is build a same-game parlay that will win all of us some money.
Maybe Rondale Moore could be Cooper Kupp, but he's not. Is it Instagram?
Yeah.
Is that what IG means?
I think you have to win the Big Ten title to win Big Ten Player of the Year.
Woohoo!
Wow, what a bad take. It is The Drive with Tay Piper, Derek Piper, Kyle Tosk to my right. He has now been subbed into the game as Lante is on his way to watch STM and Andrew play tonight. Lon's headphones, which I've now taken over his seat at the controls, they're really, really loud. I don't know how Lon hears anything. Next time you're talking to him, he doesn't know what you're saying. I'm just putting that out there because his headphones are just insanely loud. Moving on, though, we got to circle back. If you're just tuning in, you just got off work, you're getting in the car. Not that this is breaking news to you, but we've been talking about it throughout the first hour. We did have great insight from Adam Rittenberg, ESPN national reporter for college football, on the airwaves last hour to talk about Ryan Walters, to talk about how Brett Bielema will go about filling this defensive coordinator position. Mentioned just kind of the impact for the football program of getting an 8-win season, getting to the ReliaQuest Bowl, and what that means as far as perception, as far as momentum, and Adam gave a good answer on that. And then he also reflected on Mike Leach, of course, the awful news of his passing earlier today. Kyle, let's talk about Ryan Walters. I do want to play a clip from Tom Dienhart on Big Ten Network, who gave a perspective as far as what he thought of Ryan Walters making that move to Purdue. But to see the news today, and I mentioned it earlier in the show, there was a text on the text line, shout out, I think it was from the 615 or 651, I should say, that said, oh, there's buzz out there, there's smoke that Ryan Walters is one of the finalists. I wasn't prepared to put too much energy into that, but then the very next day, the train rolled through not only Philo, but into Champaign and plucked one of the best defensive coordinators out there in the country. What do you think, Kyle, of Ryan Walters on his way to West Lafayette?
Definitely stinks, but...
Hold on. My bad. I didn't have your mic on.
It's all right. Yeah, it definitely stinks, but you kind of had to expect it as an Illini fan, knowing what he's done, how many rumors that were circling around him. If you did keep him for one more year even, which I guess you could start to hope for after seeing Colorado get filled, then next year he was going to interview. And it was a matter of when, not if, he was going to get a head coaching job. I think immediate reaction is that I'm not too concerned about it because I just think the foundation has already been laid there with that defense. If Brett Bielema is able to keep the rest of that coaching staff together, which is now going to be important, I think you have the foundation there now. It's about acquiring that talent, building off of the foundation that Ryan Walters helped lay. But it definitely stinks because, man, was Ryan Walters' defense fun to watch the last 2 years.
We did have a couple of people weigh in on the U of I Atlantic League text line. Hopefully you're hearing us because while Fox News is not working for us today, we did, in the meantime, stream some national ESPN radio. We are back on the air. If we are not, please let us know. But I believe you are hearing Kyle's wonderful insight and voice and breakdown as he just gave there. But I think I agree with you, Kyle. I think that obviously it's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to have some angst about someone that made this one of the best defenses in the country from just an abysmal run there with Lovie Smith where he couldn't figure it out, for all of his experience in the NFL, for the great defense he had in Chicago with Urlacher and Briggs and Peanut Tillman and whatnot. And just you continually see them give up 35, 40 points. And here comes Ryan Walters, and this defense is in the elite category where, like, their defense for a stretch of time, and I think it even finished as the number one scoring defense in the NCAA, to have a better defense on paper than like a Georgia or an Alabama or a Michigan or an Iowa, like all those programs, Illinois was above them, and a big tribute there, obviously, to Ryan Walters. But before we do want to get to some NFL today, we do want to share some basketball news which came out and exciting as far as a matchup that will be there in the future. Are you with me, Kyle, on the note of, number one, if you can get Jim Leonard, you better damn sure try as hard as you can. And number two, Devin Leary, as far as the quarterback from NC State. Would you go all out to land him, or do you think that if Tommy DeVito were to obtain a waiver or say like he already has one, I don't know. Personally, I'm not questioning, as someone that has to get sources and find out intel, if that is true, as Tim weighed in on the text line, said that maybe he has the waiver and is kind of waiting to see how things play out. The one thing I know with the NCAA is they are not swift in acting on much of anything, especially when it comes to Illinois. But long story short, Kyle, Jim Leonard, yes or no, all in. Devin Leary, yes or no, all in.
I think if Jim Leonard is willing and open to be the defensive coordinator at Illinois, you do what it takes to bring him in. If not, I do think that hiring someone like Kevin Kane is a move that, I think at first thought you're maybe underwhelmed by it, but I think he, for at least from what I've read from people that are closer to the football program, he was really, alongside Ryan Walters, a big catalyst of the defense. Like you said, it would be a seamless transition. But that being said, Jim Leonard would be the more exciting name. On the Leary note, it just gets you, nothing against Tommy DeVito, but it just gets you a little more excited when you see a guy that had 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, preseason first team All ACC coming into this year. If that guy is available, I think it just raises the ceiling of this offense a lot more than bringing. Not to say that the offense can't take a step forward in a second year of Tommy DeVito in the system, but I think I'm someone who, if there's a bigger name out there at quarterback that can really raise the offensive ceiling, I would rather go all out for that guy than bring back Tommy DeVito, especially knowing that you're not going to have Chase Brown to hand the ball off to 40 times, and the passing offense is really going to need to take a step next year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm 100% with you. I know it would be a tough decision. It'd be a tough decision, especially if Tommy's already like, it's good. I've already got my waiver. I'm ready to come back. If he's all in on that and Leary is still making his decision, and there are a lot of big players in that recruitment. I know that I was watching a clip on the CBS Sports streaming channel on their website, and the guy that was covering that recruitment reported that Notre Dame's in there, Auburn's in there, Oregon's in there. Like you hear, like insert a big name program that needs a quarterback, and they're involved with Devin Leary, knowing how talented he is. But of course, if Illinois could make that happen, have him be allowed to be here with Donovan Leary, his younger brother, and be able to mentor him and be able to show him the ropes within this program, and maybe even hand it off to him after 1 year in Champaign. I would be all in for that. And I think that there's no doubt, like, Tommy DeVito is with his completion percentage opened up so many things. I mean, where Illinois is at from a quarterback standpoint, it was like having a Walkman forever, and one that was broken. Like, it's 2022 and you're walking around with a big Walkman that doesn't fit in your pocket. You got to carry around a backpack full of CDs because obviously to change a song, to change an artist, you got to be able to do that. It's 2022. And on the football side, Illinois didn't have a quarterback who could throw the ball, who could be even a Power 5 level of quarterback. And finally you get one that's not only that, but that's top half of the Big Ten. That's even, you look at the QBR numbers outside of Stroud and outside of McCarthy at Michigan, Tommy DeVito was like third, maybe fourth in the Big Ten in QBR. So you had a top tier level quarterback in the league, but there is a difference in being able to throw the ball downfield. I know that was one thing that, while I was really pleased during that win streak, you see the Wisconsin game, you see how he battled in that Minnesota game where there was questions of whether he was going to play, and he came out and had a really, really good game. Someone that could do something with his feet, someone that could buy time in the pocket. And he could take some shots like down the sidelines, early downs. I love to see that. It had been so long since I had seen Illinois have an offense and a confidence in a quarterback to say, hey, let's, on first down, when they think we're going to run it, let's play action and throw the ball, or let's just take 3 steps back and hit one-on-one coverage down the sideline. But as the season wore on, you look at that Michigan State game, and there was a hesitancy to throw the ball into the wind, or even when you had the wind at your back, to throw it down the field. And it got in your mind of maybe Tommy's a little bit limited with his downfield ability and just kind of opening it up to what a the highest of caliber quarterback in college football can be. So if you can achieve that with Devin Leary, if you're confident he can be healthy enough coming off his surgery, I would try to go get that. And then I think Jim Leonhard, it's not like we're breaking any ground here. We're not having some kind of crazy hot take conversation. If you can get what was tabbed as one of the best defensive coordinators out there, you would certainly try to do that. But I understand, as Adam Rittenberg said, transitioning from one DC role in the Big Ten to another, there might not be a whole lot of appeal for Jim there. So we'll see what happens with him. But I think the Devin Leary conversation is definitely an interesting one, because I would get some, if Brett said I want to be loyal to my guy in Tommy DeVito, and he was certainly very good for us, can get even better through a year of the offseason, learning the offense. One thing I would wonder about, and Kyle, I wonder if you agree, is like, does Illinois have the weapons offensively to attract a Devin Leary? When you say Chase Brown's leaving, when you say look at the receiving core outside of Isaiah Williams, that would be one thing that I worry about, going out and trying to attract a top-level quarterback in the portal.
I agree with that, and I was going to add on to what you said. I think in terms of a downfield threat and the downfield passing game, I don't think you can put that all on DeVito, because he just didn't have the receivers, and he didn't have guys that were truly a vertical threat downfield. But yeah, you never know. And you never know sometimes. Like, I know Cade McNamara at Iowa, they're now the favorites to land a wide receiver transfer because they have that big-time quarterback in place. So you never know if Illinois could get Devin Leary. Could that lead to a couple other avenues to land a transfer weapon for him? That's always a possibility. But, yeah, that's a good point. I would be surprised if Illinois was able to land a quarterback of that caliber still, even with the steps they took. But if it's an option, I'm all in on a guy with that kind of upside that can really transform this offense into one that has a top-level Big Ten passing game.
And I think that you would hope to sell him on the opportunity to spend a season with your brother, which would be obviously really cool, a very unique opportunity to be able to be in that quarterback room with your younger brother. Also, you would hope you'd have to be able to talk to him about potential to add other pieces in the portal to put him in a situation where he can thrive. Because I believe, and Jeff asked on the U of I Atlanta League text line, how many years of eligibility does Leary have? I think it's only one left. I think so. I think he's got one more year left to show out ultimately for the NFL. So that's one thing where I would have some worry if Illinois can ultimately sell him enough on that. But let's be honest, and this isn't always the factor because guys are not only they're going to think about the big picture payday. I think when you're an NFL prospect, similar to in college basketball, when you're an NBA prospect, you want to be able to go somewhere that can put you in the best situation for long-term earnings. But we haven't seen or heard about as much, especially as the basketball side, of NIL on the Illinois football side really having a huge impact in terms of bringing in somebody that was, maybe something that Illinois couldn't have achieved before. So for Illinois to go out in the transfer portal on the basketball side, get Terrence Shannon, who was one of the top 10 transfers in the country, get Matthew Meyer, top 10, top 15 transfer in the country. Illinois basketball, obviously, by being a 1 seed, by having a Big Ten title, had more appeal than, not to take anything away from their 8-win season on the Illinois football side. But NIL wasn't the only reason that got them there. But when you're talking, big money, when you're talking $300K, $500,000 that Illinois could put together as part of the incentive to come to Illinois, can that happen on the football side? Can they be able to go out there and get a quarterback? Or maybe if DeVito says he's back and Leary wants to go somewhere else, maybe it's a receiver. Maybe it's somebody on defense to fill the shoes of Devin Witherspoon, I should say. I think that's going to be a really interesting dynamic as you go through this offseason, is how big of a player can Illinois be in the portal, and can the interest, the involvement of the alumni base with the NIL side, can that resonate in football, and if so, how much right after their first breakthrough season?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't really think about that aspect of it, but I mean, it's prevalent right now. That's what college athletics has turned into. You have to be, if you want the major talent, you have to be a major player in the NIL field, and I think we've seen Illinois basketball continue to get better at that and improve that, as we've seen with some of the pieces they've been able to add. And now Illinois football with an 8-4 season, that's going to be the next step for them as well. But yeah. I wasn't thinking about that originally, but that is a major factor nowadays that you just can't ignore.
Certainly. And before we move on from the college football topic, I do want to play what Tom Dienhart said on BTN earlier today about Ryan Walters leaving Illinois staff to join Purdue as their head coach.
Purdue has a new head coach, and he is a familiar name and face for Big Ten fans. Ryan Walters, the defensive coordinator at Illinois, the last couple of years, will take over as head man in West Lafayette at the ripe old age of 36. He has done a phenomenal job with Illinois, turning them around in just those 2 short years, have been arguably the best unit in the country this year. He, of course, replaces Jeff Brom, who left for his alma mater of Louisville last week. It is time to get to more on this story. Tom Dienhart, who covers Purdue for the On3 network, joins me now. And Tom, really surprising news to me. What was your initial reaction when you heard that Ryan Walters was the choice?
Yeah, Dave, he was a name that was mentioned to me a day or two ago by another sitting head coach as a possible target for Purdue. I was a little surprised when I heard that. Dave, I really thought Purdue's focus was going to be on, first of all, finding a guy who's a proven head coach. And number two, Dave, as you know, finding a coach who has an offensive background, given Purdue's history as a cradle quarterback. So we have almost a 180 here, right? With an unproven guy, never been a head coach, and a guy who comes from the defensive side of the ball. But I will tell you, Dave, I've heard a lot of good things already about Ryan, not just from an X's and O's standpoint, Dave, but also just from a personality standpoint, just a real rising star in the coaching ranks.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, we've been around him last couple of years, and Jerry and Howard and Joshua and I have been wowed by him when we have visited with him at camp. Incredibly smart and cerebral, down to earth. He's everything that you would want in a head coach. That being said, I did not see his name on initial lists of candidates. I know within the last day or so, as you said, his name started to percolate around the job. Can you recall the first time when you heard, like just kind of timeline-wise, that Ryan Walters might be a candidate here?
Well, this job officially came open on Wednesday, Dave. So we almost went a full 7 days with this job being open. And I didn't hear his name until Sunday at the earliest. Was the first time I had heard anybody utter his name to me. We had a pretty extensive hot board on our site. I'll be honest, the guy that looked to be the front runner, if you asked most program watchers, was the Western Kentucky head coach, Tyson Helton, 45-year-old guy, an offensive guy. You know, Dave, cut from a lot of the same cloth as Jeff Brom, looked to be a natural next step for a guy like Tyson Helton. I do believe there was conversations with Tyson Helton, but it didn't work out. So again, from my perspective, Dave, Ryan Walters' name did not come on my radar until late in this process, which is only, again, a six-day ordeal.
Thanks to Big Ten Network for that audio. Dave Revson, who I know is a local product here from Urbana, and then Tom Dienhart, who covers Purdue, giving the perspective. And it is a surprise for not only us covering Illinois or those of us around the Illinois program, fans of the Illinois program, that this manifested so quickly, and that Ryan Walters is already done, signed, sealed, and delivered, going across the Big Ten West to Purdue. But I know that Purdue fans, some have some angst, some unhappiness of getting a guy that's not proven as a head coach.
I think that'll change once he gets going.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I know we had a text earlier on the U of I Line and Link text line saying it worked out pretty well for Pat Fitzgerald, which, of course, that was definitely the case, going from the DC at Northwestern to then the head coach there. And you have seen a number of examples where a coach has been promoted within from a coordinator position then to a head coach at a Power 5 without any head coaching experience. You'll see one right in your own backyard. And Brett Bielema at Wisconsin was the DC under Barry Alvarez, then took over the job. Lincoln Riley's one that comes to mind, an OC at Oklahoma. Then he becomes the head coach. So going from a coordinator position in the Power 5 and not having head coaching experience and then getting a job like that isn't all that uncommon. And obviously there have been a number of success stories. It will be, of course, yet again, really intriguing to see how this plays out and how Ryan Walters does over there. Before we catch a break, on the basketball side, a home and home, which we've speculated about. It's not the one we wanted. Not saying it's a bad one, not saying that Illinois and Kansas can't happen here in the near future. I'm still crossing my fingers on that. But without the ACC Big Ten Challenge being in the future for Illinois, and even the Gavitt games, the Illinois or the Big Ten and Big East pairing is only having one more year left on its contract. There's going to be opportunity for programs to go out and schedule, be a little bit more creative with their scheduling. I know that Brad has loved home and homes as he did with Arizona, and that provided a high-level matchup. Unfortunately, Illinois didn't come away with a win there, but the next opportunity will be in the SEC. No, it's not Auburn and Bruce Pearl. No, it's not Arkansas and the Must Bus. But Illinois and Tennessee have agreed to a 2-year home and home in the non-conference beginning next year. Illinois will go next December to Knoxville to play the Volunteers, and the year after that, Tennessee will return that to Champaign. Kyle, what do you think of Illinois and Tennessee as a non-con home and home for Brad Underwood and company?
I love it. I love these kind of matchups. Tennessee wasn't really on my radar for when I was thinking about what opponents could Brad Underwood schedule a home and home with. But, I mean, Tennessee has been top of the SEC for the last 4 or 5 years. Big-time program. Obviously, this year they're in the top 10. And, yeah, I mean, that Arizona series was really fun, especially when it came back to Champaign. I wanted to go to that game. Obviously, I wasn't in college yet, but me and my dad were close to going to that game, and we didn't end up coming down. But I remember how fun that atmosphere looked, and I'm sure this will be more of the same. Obviously, going to a new place that Illinois hasn't been to in a while, and Knoxville too will be fun. And I love these high-level matchups. Like when I was first in Illinois, like you can speak way further back than I can, but when I was first a kid as an Illinois fan, felt like they'd play 11 cupcakes, Big Ten ACC game, maybe they'd sprinkle in, like I know they played Gonzaga for a series, but now with Brad Underwood, it seems like he really is not shying away from these big-time games, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it used to be that United Center game, which I know some are still pining for to get back eventually.
But
now
then they scheduled against like UIC and like a bad Auburn team at the time or something
New Mexico
like that.
State, which they did. Yeah, it really lost its luster, obviously, when the program had taken steps back and wasn't able to attract a high-level opponent or didn't necessarily want to face Duke or UNC or even Gonzaga because it wouldn't be a game that they could ultimately win or draw, and then some of those matchups, like you were mentioning, didn't draw very well with the crowd. But the home-and-home dynamic is really cool. We're seeing it, like Indiana's going to play Kansas. I think it's coming up this weekend, and we've already seen the first establishment of the Gonzaga-Kentucky series that's going to be a 6-year one going forward. So these are really, really cool. I loved the Arizona one. Obviously, it was a great battle last year that went all the way down to the wire. Two awesome teams that, unfortunately, from the Illinois side, Arizona was able to come out with a victory there. But Tennessee, to your point, they're one of the best teams in the country this year. They were hammering Maryland here. I know there was a big battle there in Brooklyn over the weekend. They were hammering them through the first half. And then Maryland came back and made it a game. But Tennessee is a top 5 team this year. They have had within the last couple of years, they were at a 2 seed last year, I believe, 2 or 3 seed.
I think there were the 3, and then Michigan upset them in the round of 32.
Good call. Yeah, they were up there. They've had some really good years under Rick Barnes. The one thing that's kind of escaped him, other than a Sweet 16 berth there in 2019, they had Admiral Schofield, they had Grant Williams. That was a really good Tennessee team.
That was the year that Purdue beat them in that crazy game, wasn't it?
Yeah, Carson Edwards, Ryan Klein for Purdue. That was a wild game. I had Tennessee to win it all that year, so I wasn't too pleased with the result. But Rick Barnes has it's been lacking in terms of the really, really deep run in the tournament. I think it's gone all the way back to – he went to a Final Four, which no one's going to scoff at, early in his time at Texas. TJ Ford, who – I might as well be talking Gerald Ford or Henry Ford to Kyle because he's got no idea who TJ Ford is, I'm imagining.
I've heard the name.
Okay. It's been a while. I think it was, let's see, 2003 Final Four at Texas for Rick Barnes. But on a more recent note, or just here in the near future, like Illinois going to Knoxville, I think that's another cool dynamic is while we think of just the best matchups on the floor, to do one that's fairly regional, and that fans could go from, Illinois fans could travel down to Knoxville, or fans from Tennessee could buy tickets and come up to State Farm Center. Obviously, Illinois will want to sell it out themselves and not get too many volunteer fans in there. But that's also a cool part, to play it close enough to where you could have some boots on the ground in enemy territory, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think the winner of the game, the series, can officially declare themselves a better shade of orange because I'm not
Syracuse
a fan.
is already out of it, right? They got knocked out this year.
That at least kind of mirrors the Illinois orange. This burnt Tennessee orange is I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah. Are we just gonna forget Texas because you mentioned burnt orange?
True,
that's
true.
That is one, but yeah, the Tennessee orange is a little bit. I don't know. Is it more like of a peachy orange to a little bit of a lighter orange?
I'm trying to envision it in my mind, but yeah.
But that'll be fun. It'll be fun to be able to see those matchups as early as next year. So that'll be something to enjoy. And credit to Brad Underwood to be aggressive in the scheduling. And again, while we're happy with this, we still want to see Illinois and Kansas. Hope you're listening, Bill Self. I'm sure he tunes in and stays abreast to what's going on in Champaign. But regardless, we got to catch a break. We got some NFL to talk about with Kyle when we come back. I'm gonna provide some words of encouragement for his Dolphins. And I told Lon this yesterday. Lon wasn't really fully on board with me. I kind of sent him into a downward spiral of all that's gone wrong with the Cardinals. That's kind of where his mind went. But I'm getting more excited with the NFL here recently, Kyle. The playoff picture's coming together. There's some intriguing storylines. I feel like the games have gotten better. We're actually going to have a good Thursday night game coming up this week of the Seahawks playing the Niners. But, yeah, let's recap some of what happened this past weekend. We're going to do that when we come back. This is The Drive.
Now, the NIL jersey lineup for your Fighting Illini. Number 55, Sky Clark. Number 15, R.J. Melendez. Number 10, Luke Goody. Number 20, Ty Rogers. Number 0, Terrence Shannon Jr. And number 33, Coleman Hawkins. Get yours at State Farm Center on game day, online or in stores. Game Day Spirit, official fan store of the Fighting Illini.
You've changed thousands of diapers, played hours of peekaboo and duck, duck, goose because you do anything for your kids. That's why it's so important to protect them with life insurance from State Farm. State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow will help make it easy and affordable to help you protect your family no matter what the future holds. Because for the people you do anything for, life insurance could mean everything. Call State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow in Champaign-Urbana today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Carl works every day to improve the health of community members across the region, and it would not be possible without team members like Dwayne Linton, a nationally certified nurse in the emergency department at Carl Foundation Hospital.
I work with a team of people who really care about what they do and are very flexible and adaptive in rapidly changing critical situations, and I would trust any of them at any time.
If you're looking for an opportunity to serve your community like Dwayne in a supportive environment, visit carl.org/careers.
Kurt Lehman at Aftershock. What do they do?
We'll start with the cheaper end of it. We do anything from, we print on direct-to-substrate, so we'll do yard signs, we'll do banners, and then we'll get into doing the die-cut graphics or like fleet graphics, so we'll do stuff for wall graphics, doing stuff like that, and then into where we do, partial vehicle wraps. They can be partial vehicle wraps can be very cost-effective, really make the vehicle stand out without covering every inch, of them.
AfterShockDD.com.
There is one name you need to know in car repair in the central Illinois area, and that's John Marshall. John is the owner of PDR Automotive in Urbana and makes it his mission to know that your car will start when you come to pick it up. John strives for a repair in the most efficient time possible and is the right person to take care of your car. From tires to engine to electrical to the simple oil change. Trust in John at PDR. 1008 North Cunningham in Urbana. John's team will take care of you like family.
Prairie Gardens is your local one-stop gift shop. It's a magical winter wonderland full of perfect holiday gifts. With candles and scents full with warmth and cheer. Stocking stuffers and toys for the smallest of receivers. Gifts for the gardener and bird lover. And a peachy boutique with buy one, get one half off savings. All jewelry, hats, gloves, and scarves. Buy one, get one half off this week. At Prairie Gardens, your Christmas destination for over 50 years.
It's the holidays and you want to shop local. Well, shop at one of the best locally owned retail stores in town. Pard's Western Shop, but it's far more than Western. Pard's has an incredible selection of clothing for men and women and boys and girls with the greatest service and the best boots you can buy. Don't shop online, support all that out-of-town stuff. Shop local. And Pard's will be open expanded holiday hours until December 23rd. They're open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, Sundays noon to 5. Pard's in Urbana, 306 North Maple between University and Main in Urbana.
Hi, this is Chris Jackson with Kramer Siding and Window. And whatever your project, you can count on Kramer Siding to offer you the best products backed by the best warranties in the business and a lifetime of great customer service. And right now, you can save 10% on roofing, sunrooms, and decks, get 15% off gutter helmet, and you can save 25% on preservation siding, windows, and doors. So call today or visit us at kramersiding.com and let's get started on your project.
You spend half of your life indoors. That's half of your life underneath your roof. Who do you trust to keep you safe and dry underneath it? The name to remember is Roof Doctors. Roof Doctors understands the harsh weather conditions that your roof endures because they're a family and locally owned business. From your community, for your community, the doctors who make the house calls, Roof Doctors. At roofdoctors.com or phone 328-7529. Rest easy under a roof that's been treated by Roof Doctors.
Hey, Illini fans, it's Georgia B. Catch my boys Tay and Tay Piper weekdays from 4 to 6 on The Drive. Boom, boom, brr.
It is The Drive with Tay Piper, Derek Piper, Kyle Tosk. Getting ready to talk some NFL. I should have just went right into it, Kyle, because I know we got a number of games to get through. This is kind of a recurring thing here. Not to stall any more time, but are you frustrated with how hard it is to get on schedule, on time with Lon and I through the NFL segments? Go ahead, air it out. It's all good.
No, it's all right. It is funny, though, when Lon will be like, all right, we're going to do NFL, and then goes on 6 different tangents, and then it's 5:48, and then we're doing it. But hey, it's all right.
You hear that, Lon? Kyle just roasted you. I'm just kidding. That's not a roast.
It's not gonna be. He's not gonna be happy if he hears that.
He gets it. He knows. Time to get to the NFL. Let's go. Take it away, Kyle.
I'm with you. These NFL has gotten gradually better. I don't know if it's just because we're getting closer to playoff time, but those middle weeks were really
it was tough. We had to battle through that. We had to change some perceptions, I think, of who's good and who's not.
Yep.
You had to be willing to accept the New York Jets into your life, which was a hard thing.
God.
Even the Detroit Lions, like that whole deal. Like, I think your Dolphins not in that same category. Not to rope you in with the Jets and the Lions, who are bottom of the barrel franchises who are actually competitive this year. But like, oh yeah, the Dolphins, who have been one of the most fun teams in football this year. Like, oh yeah, they're really good, and the Packers aren't, and the Rams aren't, and it's kind of like you go through the NFL or the NFC playoff picture of last year, and just be like, okay, everyone but the Niners stink. It's been kind of weird.
We mentioned the Rams. How about the Baker Mayfield resurgence last Thursday night? 2 days in LA, and he leads a comeback victory over the Raiders 17-16. That was out of nowhere.
It really was, and he wasn't having a good game until late in that fourth quarter. Made 2 really great throws, and I'm sure the Raiders probably in hindsight are not happy they left one-on-one coverage on that throw down the sideline that he made, and it was a great throw, but it was wild. And while the matchup didn't, when you have 2 below 500 teams, and I'm sure Al Michaels is like, what did I get myself into? But it was some drama late on a Thursday night, and I was entertained. But the Raiders, man, it's been a brutal year for them. And maybe they were creeping their way back into, like, kind of in the playoff picture or not. What's the line? It's always like in the hunt. They were still
the graphic,
quote unquote. Yes, the graphic. Still quote unquote in the hunt. Losing to Baker Mayfield on the road probably puts you out of it, but maybe it helps you get a new head coach next year because Josh McDaniels just stinks. And I know Lindy agrees with us.
I would agree as well. Let's get to some actual playoff caliber teams in the Buffalo Bills and the Jets. Bills get a ugly win. There was like 10 straight punts to start this game, but the Bills moved to 10-3. They just haven't looked quite like we thought at the beginning of the season. Not to say that 10-3 is 10-3. They're going to win the division. The Dolphins aren't going to challenge them. I've accepted that. But what do you make of the Bills? Do you think they're still the Super Bowl favorite?
I haven't written them off yet. I wouldn't call them the favorite. I know that betting-wise they are. Like, I was looking at the FanDuel odds at the beginning of the week, and I figured that in my head I thought Philly would be because they're going to have to have the best record. But I understand that they're still kind of putting Josh Allen in that type of a situation, and they don't want people probably to take advantage of. Let's knock them down in the odds a little bit. Now they're 10-3, so I'm not going to go crazy as far as like this team doesn't look very good, and it would be a surprise if they came all the way back. But the eye test, they don't look like the same team as they did earlier in the year. I wouldn't maybe tab them as the favorite, but I'm not writing them off because I've mentioned the line. Like, the Rams weren't thriving at this point last year. The year before that, the Bucs weren't thriving at this point. They have too much talent on offense. The Von Miller injury, is he done for the year?
He is.
That's a big loss for them because that was something that early in the season where you saw that pass rush in addition to they've got a really good back end of their defense. They got obviously a great offense. It's like, oh, if they got Von Miller rushing like this, that changes things. So you're the resident AFC East expert. Are you down on the Bills? Like, do you think this team will bounce back, or are they on some unsteady waters right now in terms of being a Super Bowl caliber team.
I think they're still right at the top. I think as Josh Allen recovers from that injury, he'll get back to playing like he has been. And I just think the roster is just too talented. And they've been dealing with injuries, both obviously Josh Allen's injury and defensively. They've had a bunch of injuries, I know, in the secondary as well. Now they've gotten Tre'Davious White back. I will say, though, before we move on from this game, the Jets' defense is legit. Like I'm a little nervous as an AFC East team with all
Sauce
these
Gardner,
young guys,
yeah.
Quinnen Williams, and the Jets are gonna. They don't have a quarterback yet, which I take a little comfort in, but I'm getting nervous about the Jets.
Man, I hate it for them. They didn't get Justin Fields. But other than that, they've done a lot of really good things. They've done a lot of great stacking draft picks. What looks like making some good picks. Garrett Wilson looks like an awesome receiver, which isn't surprising. But
Breece Hall, before he got hurt,
was
playing great.
But yeah, and Mike White to his. I mean, he's tough. I don't know how good he is, but he's tough.
He's not the future, but you got to give him credit. He's going out there and battling.
No doubt.
Bengals 23-10 over the Browns. The Bengals are starting to roll along here, and things aren't going well for Deshaun so far.
I'm kicking myself because I should have bet this game because the Bengals have started to put it together, 5 straight wins. And just to expect Deshaun Watson, all jokes aside, which I usually don't put those jokes aside, I put them on into the mic and through the airwaves. It's so hard to go from not playing football. He wasn't allowed to practice with the team while he's suspended. To just insert him into a divisional game against Joe Burrow on the road and be like, yeah, that's going to go well. He didn't play that well, and it's not surprising at all. The Browns have a decent collection of talent around him with Chubb and a pretty solid defense at the very least. But for the Bengals to win that game and Deshaun not to be able to do anything, that's not surprising.
No, it isn't. Moving along here, Cowboys nearly lost to Lovie Smith and the Houston Texans. They escape 27-23. Do you think the Cowboys are a threat? I have a hard time coming around.
I'm with you. I mean, Tony Pollard, if he goes crazy in a playoff game, would that surprise me? No. They just signed T.Y. Hilton, right?
That's right.
So I'm assuming they're out of the Odell Beckham sweepstakes. When does that end?
I thought there was some update, like the medicals on Odell.
Oh boy,
are saying he's not coming to be back until maybe the playoffs.
Of course.
But the whole thing was for nothing. He's
oh
not
my
gonna play
gosh.
now.
So the whole wine and dine, let's put Odell Beckham back in college on a recruiting trip to different places and all that stuff was for nothing. Wow, that's
I thought I saw that. Maybe teams are still, but I think that was I think the T.Y. Hilton move kind of indicated that the whole Cowboys and Odell ordeal might be simmering down.
Yeah, ultimately, to your original question, I don't believe in the Cowboys. That's kind of an easy thing to say each and every year since the late 90s, but Dak Prescott, I don't know if I trust him in the playoffs, but then again, the NFC, there's not a lot of teams to trust, so could they go deep in beating the Vikings or I have a lot more trust in the Niners and the Eagles right now than the Cowboys, to put it simply.
Speaking of the Vikings, they lose 34-23 in Detroit, and the Detroit Lions are kind of they're making a playoff push.
They're
right
in
now.
it. There's a huge game in New York, Lions and Jets. Everybody look out. Accept it. They're a fun team. I don't know how good they are. They're decent. And I think from a Bears perspective, that team's going to be in the mix. Jared Goff right now, I was looking at the QBR rankings. He's 6th in the NFL in QBR. So while he's limited, he's not going to kill you down the field as much as some other quarterbacks. He's had a pretty darn good season for the most part. I still think they'll draft the quarterback of the future in the upcoming draft, right? Wouldn't you think?
I'm almost...
Or maybe not.
I think they almost would go for a Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, knowing the defense. I think they can win with this offense. Not to say that Jared Goff is going to be around forever, but I don't think that they would necessarily be opposed to going into next year with Jared Goff and a bunch of defensive improvements.
Fair enough.
But
maybe
interesting.
Maybe they've won enough to where they're not in the range of drafting one of the top guys.
Well, they have the Rams pick, which is high.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
That's what That's why I mentioned those names.
Thanks
I know
to Kyle for fact checking me.
They'll be at like 5 or 6. Well, I know the Rams just got to win, but they're going to be in the mix at the top of the draft.
It's an interesting dilemma for them. Not one that you would have expected early on in the season. I think the Vikings, look, offensively, they can be a nightmare to go up against. Justin Jefferson over 200 yards in this game. But do you trust Kirk Cousins in a playoff game? Probably not. No. Is their defense good? No, it's not good. And that's something that's the one hole I poked in them going into the year. That's why I thought Green Bay was probably getting the popular pick was like, oh, Minnesota's going to win this division. Green Bay is going to take a step back. Now, that narrative was right. I was on the wrong side of it. But my big question about Minnesota was, is their defense good enough? They're not the traditional top 10 in the league, penciled in Minnesota Vikings defense. That's going to be their downfall.
The Philadelphia Eagles just absolutely bulldozed the Giants 48-22. I think they removed that game. It was nationally televised Fox game. They had to pull it off the air. It was such a blowout. The Eagles, 12-1 now. They are the clear-cut NFC favorites at this point.
Definitely. I know we're going heavy here, as which is a huge surprise to everybody. We got some commercials to hit, but before we do that, more betting advice, Kyle. Should I bet Jalen Hurts to win the MVP? On this note, I don't have a ton to say. The Giants aren't very good. I'm thoroughly impressed with the Eagles. They got everything you would want. The running game, really good quarterback, the receiver in A.J. Brown, the defense. But Jalen Hurts right now, like minus 120, maybe minus 150 to win, so the favorite, and then Patrick Mahomes is next. Should I trust Jalen Hurts to win it, or is Mahomes too scary at this point to put money on it?
I think Hurts has a real chance. I mean, if the Eagles finish like 14-2, even, or I guess 17 games now, it's 15-2 or something like that.
It's hard to argue with.
It is. It's hard. Like, and I know Mahomes threw like 3 picks this weekend. And whatever. He's still been the best quarterback, I think. But I think there is in that voting process, I think a lot of weight does carry with that, a kind of record like that, and best record in the league type of thing.
With that record, and even with I think that voters are kind of wowed by the newness, like a new name. Like it's kind of goes against, not that I'm a big fan, but like LeBron you don't see him win the NBA MVP every year. Not that he would deserve it every year, but it's kind of like, do we want to give it to LeBron again, or should we give it to somebody else who has a great case in their own right? And maybe that would be something that would work against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. I would still give it to Mahomes, I think. I think Mahomes has just been too impressive to me. But Jalen Hurts is slowly making a case. And I've always liked Jalen Hurts. I think it's cool to see him really break out this year with that really good team around him. I'll run through a couple games that we don't have to talk about a ton. Jaguars-Titans, 36-22. Jaguars. God, that division
it's really bad.
Let the Dolphins play in that division so we don't have to play the Bills. We get to play the Titans and the Colts and the Texans. I mean, come on.
Bad division. I know they're going to rematch the last week of the season, so maybe we saw last year the Colts lose their playoff chances in Jacksonville. Maybe that happens this year for the Tennessee. But I thought Trevor Lawrence would have the Justin Fields year. Like I thought he'd be the second-year quarterback that everyone was talking about.
He's starting to now.
But now I know he's getting it going. But, the Jags have been up and down, but they're dangerous.
Ravens sloppy win 16-14 over the Steelers without Lamar Jackson. Anything on that game?
No, definitely not. Disgusting football game.
Chiefs and Broncos. Broncos offense finally was getting going, and then Russell Wilson gets concussed, and the Chiefs hang on 34-28. First time all year that the Broncos offense has been exciting to watch.
Jerry Jeudy, 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
He's still got a chance to be really, really good. But no surprise, the Chiefs got up big, then got bored, and then the Broncos came back. Shocking.
35-7, 49ers over Bucks, who now just got blown out, moved to 6-7, and are in first place in their division.
Oh, my gosh. I've been on this show, which even predated you, Kyle, a very big Tampa Bay Bucks advocate since Brady got there. It worked out for them going to the Super Bowl and winning it, but now, I mean, this is a disgrace. This is terrible. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Nobody out of the South in the NFC deserves to be in the playoffs, but we're going to see it. And could Brady put something together with each week that goes by? I think the automatic answer used to be, I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Vikings or whoever it might be, Cowboys. But now I'm sitting there saying it's not going to happen. They don't have it. They don't have anything going right now. Before we get to, we're going to skip the Seahawks. Before we get to Chargers Dolphins, which I want to talk about, let's catch a quick break, and then we'll come back. This is The Drive.
Loud and clearly better. Good vibes. Good vibes.
Hi, this is Steve from Good Vibes.
And this is Luke Goody from your men's basketball team.
So, Luke, how's the rehab coming along?
Pretty good. The doctor says I might be cleared earlier than we thought.
Hey, that's great news. I know it's got to be tough for a player like you to ride the pine or the couch.
Yeah. Let's say I wanted a bigger, better TV while I'm recovering. What can I do on a college student's budget?
Luke, we go straight to Sony at every level, especially now with holiday pricing. You can get a 65-inch Bravia screen and stay in 3 figures. Sony's all about image quality, so their mid-grade models look better than the other guys' step-up sets.
I'm still pretty gimpy. Can Good Vibes deliver a 65-inch Sony and set it up in my place for under $1,000?
Absolutely, even after sales tax is added, and that's for the mid-level, not even the cheapest one. And for what it's worth, Good Vibes is a Sony warranty station, so in case anything goes wrong, we come to your place and take care of it. You won't get that from Amazon or Best Buy.
Maybe I can trade them for some basketball tickets? Kidding. Just kidding.
Hey, could you tell me what aisle your car batteries are in?
Sure, I'll go grab one for you. Here's your battery. It might be expired, but oh well. Also, the brand isn't that great, but it should work for at least a year or two, maybe. Anyways, I went ahead and charged you for it, and here's the battery. Okay, have a great day.
What just happened?
Sometimes good things are hard to find, but they're worth the wait. Make the trip out to Interstate All Battery Center at 2504 North Mattis Avenue and get all of your battery needs taken care of by the trusted professionals. Give them a call today at 355-4855.
Happy holidays from Pia's. Sports fans, take note of your Christmas party from 5 to 8 p.m. Thursday, December 15th, and Friday morning, 7 to 10 a.m. December 16th. Pia Claus will make an appearance and hand out gifts from J&J Ventures along with holiday cash. Enjoy Coors Light, Captain Morgan, and Miller Lite with a great holiday spread. Thursday, December 15th, 5 to 8 p.m. and Friday, December 16th, 7 to 10 a.m. Pia Claus is coming. 1609 West Springfield Avenue in Champaign. Merry Christmas.
Magical gifts have arrived at Merle Norman. Head to your holiday shopping headquarters for prestige skincare and makeup favorites, pre-boxed and ready to give. Shop magical gift sets for lips, cheeks, and skin while supplies last. Choose from 3 lip sets featuring plush lipstick and lip liner duos, a 4-piece set for cheeks, and a curation of self-care favorites for ageless skin. Magical gifts are available for a limited time only at Merle Norman, 706 West Market View Drive, over by Subway.
Crossroads Contractor Supply, bringing us our Stevie J Broadcasting Law Enforcement Official of the Month.
Patrol Lieutenant, Champaign County Sheriff's Department, our Law Enforcement Official of the Month, Tony Shaw. How hard is it to have people be negative toward you?
Absolutely. It's frustrating just because I know the character of the officers and the deputies and how dedicated they are to the citizens of Champaign County. But segments like this, and when Ferguson was happening and the Champaign County Fair, I had a lot of people come up to us, thank us for our service. And this past Champaign County Fair, the same thing. So in a sense, you get people that support you, are more vocal, maybe don't have the same platform, but are more vocal coming up to us and letting us know that they do support us. And so that's encouraging. So I'm hopeful, I'm encouraged, I'm a glasses half full kind of guy. And so I see nothing but a brighter future.
Crossroads Contractor Supply, delivering within a 150-mile radius of Champaign-Urbana, supporting our Law Enforcement Official of the Month.
Hey Illini fans, it's your girl Chineo Gumake. Catch Lante and Derek Piper weekdays from 4 to 6 right here on ESPN Radio 93.5.
All right, Kyle. The play clock is running low on the show. We got to go. I'm not trying to rhyme here. It's not Dr. Seuss. Chargers and Dolphins. I'm gonna tee you up for this one.
Sure.
Tua against Herbert. I get it. You guys lost the game. Tua had a rough one. Chargers get a win that they needed. What's your main takeaway or takeaways from the Sunday night action there in LA?
It's just disappointing because this was a big stretch of games for the Dolphins. They had that 5-game kind of cupcake stretch. They go 5-0, which they should have done. And then they go to San Francisco, to LA on a West Coast trip, and now they go to Buffalo this weekend, which is a different story. But and this was kind of like all right, let's see how for real this team is. Let's see if they're a true contender, and they're 0-2 so far. So it's disappointing. I never really thought the Dolphins were a Super Bowl contender. They've been fun to watch. But the biggest thing for me is that I think the league has started to figure out this McDaniel and offense a little bit, and now I think it's up to him to, and Tua obviously who didn't play well, but I think as an offense they have to now make their own adjustments, because I think the Chargers did just a great job of taking away the middle of the field, which is where Tua's been money this year, and he just struggled. And I think the big thing for me, too, is that I love Tua. He's had a fantastic year this year, but he's yet to prove that he can win the Dolphins a big late-season game. He hasn't done it yet. Had a chance last year against the Titans in December with our playoff hopes on the line. Lost miserably. His rookie year went to Buffalo, Week 17, division on the line. Or not division, Dolphins playoff chance on the line. Terrible performance, and now starting to struggle a little bit. So that's the big thing for me, is it's time this weekend, Saturday night in Buffalo.
Yep.
Go win us a huge game. Oof. And it's a tough ask, but
that is the next step, though, isn't it?
It absolutely.
I mean, he's got
is.
great stats. He had a really good year.
I think he's definitely silenced a lot of the narratives surrounding him, but the big one is, can he lead the Dolphins to late season and hopefully postseason success, and that's the big next step.
Real quick, the Herbert Tua was a big conversation going into it. Did you have any wonder going in, like, as far as maybe Tua is better than Herbert at this point? And then did the result move the needle as far as, like, where are you at on that? Are you super regretful and like, oh man, Herbert's the right answer, I'm sure of it? Or, I mean, there's still a lot to play out in these guys' careers, right? Even though I would side with Herbert right now, and that's just kind of where I am based on eye test.